But wait, what's World of Warships? World of Warships is a naval action MMO, dipping into the world of large-scale sea battles of the first half of the 20th century. Epic battles range across the oceans of the world in order to claim victory among teams comprised of the greatest representatives from an era of multi-ton marine giants. In order to achieve victory in battle, players must enjoy a wide range of strategy and a variety of tactical decisions. Sudden ambushes, cunning flanking attacks, open confrontation, and head-on assaults. Captains must strive to find an ideal way to deliver a decisive blow at the enemy. Tactical diversity in World of Warships comes from the inclusion of many different classes of warships, including aircraft carriers capable of providing remote air support and striking targets at extreme range, colossal battleships that protect power across a vast swath of ocean, and light and heavy cruisers with the capability to respond quickly to changing battlefield conditions. Stealthy and agile destroyers can be highly effective in group attacks. So don't wait. Join World of Warships today for free and rule the oceans.
We gotta sink the Bismarck to the bottom of the sea. You find the German battleship for making such a fuss. We gotta sink the Bismarck cause the world depends on us. Hit the decks a running, boys, and spin those guns around. Cause when we find the Bismarck, we gotta cut her down. The fog was gone the seventh day and they saw the morning sun. 10 hours away from homeland, the Bismarck made its run. The admiral of the British fleet said, turn those bows around. We found that German battleship and we gonna cut her down. The British guns were aimed and the shells were coming fast. The first shell hit the Bismarck, they knew she couldn't last. That mighty German battleship is just a memory. See, the Bismarck was the battle cry that shook the seven seas. We had to find a German battleship for making such a fuss. We had to sink the Bismarck cause the world depends on us. We hit the decks a running and we spun those guns around. We found a German battleship and then said we'd cut her down. We had to find a German battleship for making such a fuss. We had to sink the Bismarck cause the world depends on us. We hit the decks a running and we spun those guns around. We found a German battleship and said we'd cut her down. The most powerful big gun battle wagon at the time was loose in the Atlantic. The pride of the Royal Navy, HMS Hood, had been sent to the briny deep. The German sailors were horrified of the devastation of Hood's sinking, recognizing fellow sailors similar to themselves that had lost their lives with the sinking of the Hood. Prince of Wales was hammered by Prince Eugen and Bismarck, suffering 7 devastating hits. She retreats southeast. Bismarck and Prince Eugen did not pursue the Prince of Wales due to the fact that Bismarck had suffered damage. Bismarck did not make it out unscathed. Prince of Wales ruptured Bismarck's oil storage. She was hemorrhaging oil, and she headed east, leaving Prince Eugen headed for Nazi-occupied France and a friendly port to get repairs. England sends everything she has to find and sink the Bismarck. Churchill vows Bismarck must be sunk at all costs. At this time, Bismarck was 2,000 miles from France, limping its way east. Prince of Wales, Norfolk, and Suffolk shadow Bismarck as she heads towards France. Royal Navy Fleet Admiral John Tubby, who commanded the Northern Fleet aboard his flagship King George V, was 300 miles from Bismarck. At the same time, a British battle group, Force H, was steaming from the south. Admiral Tubby decides his best bet at the moment was an airstrike on the Bismarck. On May 26, 1941, British Fairey Swordfish biplanes launched from HMS Victorious in search of battleship Bismarck. The Swordfish, a lightweight biplane developed by the Fairey Swordfish Company, or Fairey Aviation, originated in the 1930s and was operated by the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm. Nicknamed the String Bag, it was thought to have been outdated, but the Swordfish showed its mettle when it smashed the Italian fleet at the Battle of Taranto. Was proven to be a good medium torpedo bomber. The Swordfish are a lightweight biplane, and they carried one Mark 12 torpedo and was cruised at about 85 miles per hour, using a primitive radar to find Bismarck. The Swordfish moved into three formations and spread out. They each turned toward Bismarck in single file, dropped to 200 feet above the water to dodge anti-aircraft guns, but the Bismarck was smart. She started firing her main cannons to make plumes of water splash up to try and take out said Swordfish. The Swordfish were so slow, Bismarck's anti-air guns could not track and stay on the Swordfish due to their slow speed. Swordfish then dropped to around 60 feet above water, getting ready to launch torpedo. The first sortie missed with their torpedoes. The second attack run, which included Swordfish pilot Lieutenant Percy J., Gunner Les Sayer, and Navigator B.K. Norfolk, make their run at the Bismarck, with one guy hanging out the side of the airplane watching the waves. He tells the pilot when to drop his Mark 12 torpedo. When it was dropped, it was running true and straight to Bismarck. It hit midship of Bismarck, a column of water spewing about 150 feet in the air, shutting down Bismarck's engines momentarily. But it did only cause very lightweight damage to the battleship. Nothing major. Admiral Lutyens on Bismarck knew he had to lose his shadow of Prince of Wales and the two cruisers. He ends up losing them, and the British and Admiral Tubby head in an opposite direction of Bismarck, who finally had shook her shadows. For 30 hours, the British searched the Atlantic for Bismarck. Bismarck trying to reach within 200 miles of France, which was the air controlled by the Luftwaffe, and a safe haven for the Bismarck. 36 hours after losing Bismarck, a PPY plane spots Bismarck 700 miles from the coast of France. Admiral Tubby's group is 130 miles north of Bismarck. Force H is in a perfect position to slow down Bismarck, especially since Force H had the aircraft carrier Ark Royal. 8 hours after finding her, 15 Swordfish speed towards Bismarck from Ark Royal. Lieutenant John Moffett is one of the Swordfish pilots and an element lead. He came in as low as possible, closes within 2,000 yards, preparing to launch his Mark 12 torpedo, which was dropped and running straight and true towards Bismarck. A fatal mistake by Bismarck was when she turned hard to port. 51 seconds later, the torpedo struck the port side on her stern, tearing a huge hole in her hull. Bismarck's unarmored rudders jammed 12 degrees to port from the blast, so Bismarck could now only steam in basically a big wide circle. Admiral Lutyens radios Berlin, announcing his predicament, and said that they will fight to the last shell. The British surface fleet closes in. Battleships Rodney and King George V take up stations opposite of each other, with Bismarck in the middle, with cruisers filling in the gaps. They get within 12 miles of the Bismarck, and they opened fire with their big guns from these big gun battle wagons. At 8:47 a.m., Rodney fires her 16-inch guns. Then King George V opens up with her 14. Bismarck fights back, opening up on Rodney. Salvo after salvo was fired from both sides. Rodney scores first hit at 9:02 a.m. Both British battle wagons fire broadsides constantly. Cruisers join the fight. Bismarck was hit from all angles. Finally, King George V makes a critical hit. At 9:30 a.m., Bismarck guns fall silent as she is being pummeled by the British. They fired 2,800 shells with 400 hits landing on the Bismarck, and yet she was still afloat. The Dorsetshire heavy cruiser moves in to torpedo and sink Bismarck at 10:39 a.m. The Bismarck crew were planning to scuttle the Bismarck, but the Dorsetshire made it first, launched 3 torpedoes, which hit Bismarck square. She sank by the stern from those 3 torpedo hits. The common British sailor did not rejoice. They were also horrified to see sailors go down with a battleship, similar to their friends and family and loved ones on the hood. Only 115 of over 2,000 sailors survived the sinking of the Bismarck, whose operation lasted only 215 hours. Antiquated biplanes show that big gun battle wagons were vulnerable from the sky. The age of the battleship has passed due to carriers and their air arms. Hitler never allowed the German surface fleet into the Atlantic again after Bismarck's sinking. Churchill and the British accomplished what they set out to do: sink the Bismarck and avenge the Hood. Sinking the Bismarck gave the British a victory to rally around. Plus, it showed that the Nazis were not invincible and could be beaten. This is Big Duke 6. Please hit the like button below. Join us. Comment, please. Let me know what you think. Give me some ideas. I'm always open to suggestions. Until next time, this is Big Duke 6 out.